What's up, everybody? It's Don Ashcraft from Ellipsis TCG here doing the Thursday video for hashtag Nationals Week. We're going to talk about side decking today, because I think side decking is something that's really important, especially for people who've only really played Dragon Ball Super and haven't played games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, where side decking is a bit more prevalent. I used to always say that side decks weren't that important in this game until, oh god, I want to say, I think set 3 or 4 was really when side decks kind of just became a thing. I think 4, because that was the when Cronoa came out, right? Yeah. So that's when Silver Bullet started to be a thing, and then we started to, actually get a real side deck. So going into an event siding, you typically want to, see we're on DBS decks, we're going to just browse all the cards in the game. And I'm going to talk to you about a couple cards that I think are really, really important to side. A couple side deck cards that are specific to certain things. And talk about the general idea when it comes to building your sideboard. So, there's a couple ways that you can tackle siding. One of the easiest ways is easiest and probably most effective ways is what Richard Zapp did for Niagara Falls. He took a deck, knew it had good matchups in the main board except for against Shenron, so what he decided to do was dedicate 11 cards of his 15 card side deck to helping him beat Shenron. So the concept behind this is tailoring your side deck to beat your worst matchup. And it makes tons of sense. If you think you can realistically beat most decks in the room except for one, and you think that one deck is going to be heavily populated, do what you can to beat it. Alright? Now, the other idea, and this is the one that I typically tend to do, is building your side deck to be a toolbox of not just 11 or 12 cards to beat one thing, but a combination of 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards scattered about to beat a lot of different things and to help your deck in various matchups. So you can see like what I did in Niagara Falls, where I sided Source of Power Son Goku for my Shenron matchup. I sided Mafuba for Toa and other go large type matchups, or go tall. The 8 mirror match for Jocko, which we're going to talk about when we get to specific cards, and just all these little things that like I felt helped me tackle problems as they popped up. So instead of having a pre-planned, this is what I know is going to come in against this deck, I decided to do, well, if I'm having X problem because of Y deck, I can side this card in. And honestly, I think it just comes down to your playstyle. There's a lot of value that you can get out of Zapp's way of doing it. I think I want to say there's good value you get out of the way that I do it, but again, it all just comes down to player preference. Now, to dive into the meat of the episode, I guess. And this episode is going to probably be a bit shorter one. It's late. I got class in the morning, and I'm still not feeling well. So we're going to talk about just generic cards that you can side deck for most matchups and what they do for you. And then, like I said, specific cards for specific decks. So starting with generic stuff, you can see people popping up on the side for deck testing for untap. I was watching a couple games. So going through the 1-drops real quick. There's nothing really besides, like, if you're in a blue deck, you could side Borgos. However, we're not really in a aggressive untap format where people are going to be, untapping as much during their turn. But I think Dark Power Black Masan is a really strong sideboard option, because this card hits several matchups. It's essentially a Silver Bullet. It fits within the Silver Bullet package that we have, and it's also a Self-Awakener. So what Dark Power does for you is, in your Shenron matchup, it can hit certain things, not as much as matchups like G6, but if your opponent is playing the Whis Resting Attendant card in order to aggressively ramp their deck, you can cause them to discard and allows you to aggro them more because they'll have a lower hand size. It disrupts the Universe 6 strategy because they're going to have less cards in their hand because if the Kaba U6 strategy, if you turn 1 Dark Power and they go and their only play is to Planet Sadala into Kale into Caulifla, they're not going to have a hand. So it doesn't matter that they played 2 creatures. So it really limits what they can do. Broly U6 gets to play around this a bit. There's other things that Dark Power hits. It doesn't hit the counterplay, so it's not good in that regard. But it's a good generic card to help you get to where you need to be. Next up is Dende, new to the job. When Ramp is in a format, this is a card that you can almost expect. You can pretty much expect to be in most people's side decks. Either this, Begrudging Respect Piccolo, or Force Injection Mass Saiyan. One of the 3. They all do a very similar thing where they just kind of knock out opponent's energy, and then again fitting within the Silver Bullet package. Joey Ray Cal 35 is testing right now. Next up, Desperate Measures. This card has seen a lot of popularity since release with the draft box, especially I think at the Ohio Last Chance qualifiers. I think this was one of the most sided card because most decks the tops were playing blue of some sort, and this card just can get you a lot of value at certain times. Like it's kind of like how I refer to Frost Deadly Poison. It's a card that is so situationally good, and when it is good, it's amazing. But sometimes it's just dead in certain matchups. So you can hit the counterplays in the counterplay mirror matches. You can hit Chomp the Trickster and all that stuff when you want to go for your like big kill plays. You can bounce back 1-drop Broly's when Green Broly tries to set up while going second. If you can do that twice, you pretty much win the game. Pretty much. I wouldn't commit to it completely, but it does help you. And there's just a lot of random things that you can hit with it. It's a good generic card. Did I skip ahead? I did. Flying Nimbus, if you're playing yellow and you're not main decking it, if you're afraid of aggro matchups. Frieza Spiteful Strike from the new upcoming Magnificent Collection. I think this card is underrated. So if your leader card is yellow, when you play it, you blank one of your opponent's cards that cost 6 or less. Now, at first it just seems like a very meh effect. However, in certain matchups, it can do a lot for you. So, like, if you're playing against Universe 6, yeah, you can turn off Chompavados, and especially if they're tapped out, then they can no longer do anything. But Starter Broly, if you turn off their 4-drop, their 6-drop, even their 1-drop, and then you just out the card with like remote Serious Bomb or just other things that have generic removal, you pretty much stunt their game plan, and you can get a lot of value out of it. And then you just combo it away because it's a plus 5k, and you go for your rival stuff. Oh god, King Vegeta Surprise Attack. One point in time, that card was the GOAT. Mataito, Skill of a Sage, is outclassed now by Chomp of the Trickster, but is still a card that like you could sideboard if you wanted to. Not sure what matchups you would prefer that over Champa, because Champa does pretty much everything Mataito does and more, especially since Mataito doesn't hit the ramp decks, but still a card that you could side if you wanted to. No Escape Son Goku, specifically only really good for the Red Gogeta BR matchup, and even then I don't actually know if it prevents them from building a big hand, but then they just build a field of 10Ks and they kind of just smack you a lot. I'm not too crazy about No Escape, but again, it's a generic card that you can play in your sideboard. If you're playing a red Frieza's Army like Frieza Prison, you're probably already maining it, but Paralysis Technique. And if you're playing Frieza Swap, this is a card that you could side as well. Didn't mean to talk about specific stuff, I just kind of saw it and I was like, oh, this is a thing that you can do. Other good generic stuff, we're just going through the list. Do you ever wonder how many 1-drops there are? Doesn't really work in this format right now, but Supreme Kai of Time Disruptor is a very strong card because it just turns off 2 or less attackers. There's not a lot in this format, but I'm sure eventually we're going to get to another point in time where this card is going to have a lot of value to it. Just like Nimbus, Time Magic is another good side if you're playing a yellow deck and you're not maining it. I think Time Magic is 100% the better option between the two right now for your main deck spot. But if, that's not how you roll, you prefer Nimbus, more power to you. Not a lot of 2-drops that I would say. Mafuba is a good general option because Mafuba just hits random things in the deck in the meta right now. Like you can hit Mira, you can for decks that try to abuse it with Broly, or for Toa, you can if you draw it off the Shenron Gogeta or the Gogeta, you can you can Mafuba the Gogeta. It's a card it's like Xenobutton is a lot safer now because battering's not a thing, and while Swift Retaliation Cooler exists, it's not something that can come out from one energy and just disrupt your entire life. There's a Gotenks card coming out? I gotta see what that is. If you're not main decking some form of Double Strike provider like Hidden Power, East Supreme Kai, or Champa, Furthering Destruction Champa, they're also good generic options if you don't have them. King Yema and Krillin, Ability Unleashed, are good generic options. However, I think they have a better counterpart, which is the 0+5k cards that came out in set 7. It's like Tien, Frost, the old guy from the Village in the Broly movie. I don't know what Blues is, but when you combo them, you discard a card, and you either shuffle back 3 of your cards that cost 35k or less from your drop to your deck, or you take your opponent's, or I think you bottom deck your stuff, or you take one of your opponent's battle cards and their drop, and you just shove that right back in their deck. And which is good because you can deal with the Shenron matchup. So if they have a Shenron or a Gogeta 5, Gogeta 7, stuff like that in their drop, you can just get rid of it and then hope to God they don't draw it again. And then if you're playing against Janemba, or if you get Kami'd and you fear like mass removal, you can just kind of put all your important cards back in the deck and hope to draw them again. We passed Gallic Cannon earlier, and I meant to talk about Gallic Cannon. So if you're playing red, Gallic Cannon's a good card to side right now, because in certain matchups it comes up a lot, and in other matchups it doesn't. I don't think the card's really worth a main deck spot unless you're just kind of hurting for random good red cards. But it's not something that I would, force into my main deck, or really force into my side deck. Uneasy Alliance Son Goku is a really strong card. I think it's worth maining in Janemba right now, but it's a good sideboard option as well. What you do is you negate the attack. He's a counterattack, negate it, play him. Then when you play him, you choose it to one battle card on your field, one battle card other than him with a cost of 30 or less, and you bounce it. So you can use it to recur your stuff, like the counterplays, other negates, like if you're playing Janemba, the Bojack negate. You can get a lot of good value out of that card in your side deck. If you're playing Demigra aggro, you're probably siding Time Regulator, but that's a specific thing. Just saw it and I figured I'd, make a mention of it. The more we go into like the higher drop cards, you're not siding them as much. You could side Frieza Cry of the Sovereign if you'd like. This is another card, and like Kaba the Roker, which I didn't get to talk about because I completely missed him when going through the list here, where you can use him to blank an opponent's card. So Frieza comes out Frieza's effect happens during your combo step, which is cool because you can tap the 2 yellow and then just turn off Double Strike on a card, turn off Chomp of Autos. You just get a lot of value out of just turning off certain card skills. Force Ejection Massane, like we talked about earlier when we were talking about Dende, just a really good specific card against ramp decks. Sadly, can't do the Vegeta energy lock like you could last year. Not at Nationals, but last year in general. Haru Haru. Haru Haru is an amazing card in this format. Do you know how much green and yellow leaders are running around right now? And sure, 2 of them can play Bloodlust, but Bloodlust is a one-of. And there's going to be things, your opponent's going to have to decide whether or not Bloodlusting Haru Haru or something else that comes out later is the more important play. And I think 9 times out of 10 right now, they're going to let the Haru Haru slide unless a second one comes out. Card's really strong, really good. If you have free space in your side deck, or you just don't know what to side for, like Broly Apes or Starter Broly, just throw Haru Haru in. It's a good option. Red decks, if you're playing the... what's the wish called? The Desire. Oh no, my god. The one that revives a 3-drop Red Saiyan that's 15k or less. Familial Bonds, yeah. I think Impeccable Super Saiyan Cobb is a good option for you, because if you're playing a red leader, he can't be negated, and you have to be playing a red leader for, or a Red Saiyan for Familial Bonds to work anyways. But yeah, I think it's a good card. Non-negatable, non-counterable is also really strong in this format. If you want to be spicy, you can side deck into Red Yellow Apes. That's the thing. I wouldn't do that myself. Actually, I would. I tried to do it and I got talked out of it. But it's just an option that you can do. Your Self-Awakener cards like Source of Power Son Goku, Digging Deep Vegeta, Hyperspeed Son Goku, the green one. I don't know what the black one is, and the blue one is Tapion. These are all really good right now, I think, in the format, especially against Shenron, because Shenron's a deck that doesn't need to hit you until they can kill you. And a lot of the decks in the format really need to awaken, so cards like Goku, these cards will help you get to the point where you need to get to in order to win those matchups. Strategic Mind Kikono, obviously the best card in the... no, not at all. Definitely the worst card to get that like super special feature rare thing. I forget what they called it. I know it was the same set that Vegeta, the Striving to be the Best, came out in. Swift Retaliation Cooler. This card is Battering with legs, just for 2 more mana. And it's honestly really strong. It's a really good card. It doesn't come up as often nowadays because, it costs 3 mana. But on your turn 4, if you can kill your opponent with Mira plus Cooler is essentially good game. I've apparently added it to the main deck here, in the deck that I wasn't trying to build. The counterplay cards, if you want to side into them, you always can. If you want to blind side into a secondary package, like the Janemba deck I've been talking about in the last couple videos, I'm siding into green. You could side into red as well. If you want to get value out of Gal Cannon and the Kaioken Goku? Yeah, Kaioken. And then, just as we go down the line, there's not a lot of, like, as I was saying earlier, the higher drops you don't really want to side into, because there's not as many good ones, besides, like, the Overrealm cards. And not to say that the cards aren't good. The 4-drop Topo from the draft box, this isn't the right one. I just can't, I'm not going to go and find the other Mustache Man. Really good if you're playing red, but again, if you're playing red right now, you're probably maining the card. If you want to do a red Janemba, not mono red obviously, but a red Janemba deck, Topo is a really good sideboard option, because you gotta rename the card to Please Stop Your Turn. It's so good. Or maybe not Please Stop Your Turn, but Please Stop Hitting Me. Really strong card right now. Cards that will be relevant eventually are the Field Destruction cards. But hey, that's not now. I'm also going to check something out. Is this an arrival card? It is. Alright. Been wondering that all day since work earlier. I was thinking about a list in my head. And don't you worry. We're going to be talking a lot about Set 8 once Nationals is over. And once we get more stuff revealed. Other than that, I think that's about it for the generic stuff that you can side in. I'm not seeing anything else on the card list here that one could, side in. Except for, like, you could side in, like, Mirror Saw from the Skies, Creator Absorbed, Scientist Fu, stuff like that. Just siding in generic Overrealm cards to help you close out the game if you're having that problem. Now, specific cards that I think are worth siding in specific decks. So, decks like Universe 6 Kava have trouble sideboarding because, they're limited to only Universe 6 battle cards and Vegetas. So I think for that deck you can side. There's a variety of Vegeta cards you can side. Like Penitent Martyr is one of my favorite cards in the game. You can sideboard that. That is board removal for you. Like that is just get rid of your entire board removal. Not ignoring Barrier though. I don't think he gets around Barrier. Betrayal of the Master is another one if you're afraid of like the baby deck, since it won Latin American Nationals. When they go into the rape combo, you can just go tap one, bounce it back, deal with the card. You don't have to worry about giving them an extra card from your, when you play a battle card. You just get rid of the card. Sorry, I have to itch my eyes. This is such a weird thing to mention on camera, but hey, it happens. Self-Awakeners, again, it's not a specific thing, but I just want to mention siding into Self-Awakening decks if you're playing a deck that... Siding into Self-Awakening cards when you're playing a deck that has trouble with Self-Awakening, I think it's just really important. Siding into Hard Negates, so like, if you're playing Pan and you're only main decking After Image Technique, siding at least 2 copies of Is That All You've Got is really useful and can help you survive, big cards like Mira, because you're not out comboing it. I know firsthand from many experiences. Siding cards specifically just to help your deck get to the point where it needs to come back from. There are certain things, so like Starter Broly can honestly, if you're doing the green-yellow variant, can side the new 6-drop from the draft box. You can main it too, but it allows you to go into a secondary package. It gets a lot of good value out of it from you, or that you get a lot of good value out of it. And then there's one card I wanted to talk about in particular. I meant to do it when we were doing the generic ones, but I forgot about it, or I just didn't see it. And I'm gonna have to find the bad version of it, because I can't find the actual real card. And by the bad version, I mean the less good version. I'll explain why it's not as good as the other one. But it is Jocko and or East Kai, hidden, or West Kai. I think it's West Kai. I don't ever know the Kai's names. Also, if you want to be cheeky, just as a fun like teams deck, Alien Aggro is really cool. You get I think it's, yeah. So it's this one, Mojinin Alien Bonds. So he's an activate battle effect once per turn. If you have him and another alien, you get to do the effect. You just choose up to one of your red aliens in battle, and it gets plus 10k. And it doesn't say during your turn. So if he's just on the field and your opponent attacks your leader, you don't have to combo anything. You can just trigger him and then give your guy 10k. Now, there's not a lot of red alien battle or leader cards that are good right now, but Kefla is one of them. Or Kefla is one that's not too terrible. You can play it with the Universe 6 stuff. And that's a really, really fun Team Wars deck. If you haven't gone around to testing it, I definitely recommend it. Especially if you're playing Team Wars on Friday and you don't know what you're playing. You can do a fun red-yellow deck for the Universe 6 stuff. Where is this card, man? Alright, well, Ultimate Judgment Jocko is the card that I wanted to talk about with you guys here. And I really feel like I've now missed it. Alright, you know what? We're just going to go up here and search. Card filters. Actually, we can just look up West Kai because the West Kai one is better. So the reason I say West Kai is better than Jocko, apply, not enter. Jocko is mandatory. So what these cards do is that when you combo with them, you choose up to one card in your opponent's. You choose up to or choose one card in your opponent's combo area, and you bounce it back to their hand. So what this means is when your opponent aggressively tries to attack you with, attack you in combo Raiders Warcry Bardock, or Caulifla the 4-drop, or the Kale 4-drop, or any of these cards that get comboed and put into play, you can defensively West Kai or Jocko and return the card to the opponent's hand, and then they can't play that card through its effect, because it never hit the drop from the combo area. Now, the reason that I say that Jocko is inferior to West Kai is West Kai is optional. With Jocko, if you have to combo Jocko and your opponent's only card in in their combo area is a super combo, you have to return the super combo, and that just doesn't ever feel good when you let your opponent play a fifth copy of their super combo. So Weskai is definitely the way to go if you're playing it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for side decking. Again, there are two ways there's more than two ways to do it. But I think the best two ways to approach it are either detailing your side deck to beating one specific matchup and letting your main deck do the toolbox style of, beat whatever, or building the most streamlined version of your main deck that you can, and then letting your side deck be the toolbox that you just kind of be like, I need a hammer for this job, let me pull it out. Alright, that's it for today's video. I'm not sure what Friday's video is going to be. I'm really trying to figure that out as we go. I know there's a vlog coming to you guys. It's going to be me and my Nationals experience. I've talked about it beforehand, but that's not going to get uploaded until after Nationals is done. So we're going to see what Friday entails. But thank you for watching. This has been Dylan from Team Ellipsis. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll definitely respond to everything that I can see, or that I see. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I just told you to comment, but I'm going to tell you to do it again. And if you can, hit the little notification bell thing, because that's apparently what you have to do on YouTube nowadays to get notifications about when your favorite YouTubers upload. So, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.